Welcome to Crowefoot's Lair.
Good evening. Welcome to Crowefoot's Lair. Yes, this house, my home, is called Crowefoot's Lair. That is crow, as in the bird, and foot, with an E in the middle, then lair, as in den. Why is it called that? Well, nobody knows. Perhaps it is connected to the famous Scottish Satanist Edward Crowefoot. Perhaps not. But that's what it has always been named, for more than 100 years before I moved in. I agree, it is a peculiar name. No, I don't think many people would like to live in such a strange old house with such a strange name. Sorry, I haven't introduced myself. My name is Richard Montgomery. I'm the author of the best-selling Crowefoot books featuring Edward Crowefoot.
The Drowning Party. The Silk Noose.
I can tell that you're wondering, if those books were so successful, then why do I live somewhere that more resembles a tomb than a home? Well, it's a necessity, not a choice. You see, I can't live anywhere except where there is darkness and gloom. The macabre is my only relief. While I stay here in the shadows, I pass the time by telling visitors, like yourself, the ghost stories I have collected while in my seclusion. The first story I'm going to tell, though, is not one I have collected. It is one I have lived. It's all about me. It tells the tale of why I need to live in such a deathly place as Crowefoot's Lair. If you enjoy the ghostly and the macabre, you will enjoy this. But then again, it may make you realise that getting your thrills from the darkness is not such a good idea. It's just 12 minutes long.
12 minutes.
So if you want a short, sharp stab of ice into your soul, here is the very first of my Crowefoot's Lair stories. The Chastised Heart. I was thrilled when I arrived at the graveyard. I travelled there to the Scottish seaside town of Irving when I read about its connection to my favourite author. I couldn't believe that Poe, the American genius, had a physical connection an hour's drive from my home. I weaved amongst the stone urns, mossy crosses and broken-winged angels until I found it, the family plot of James Allen, the foster father who put the Allen into the orphaned Edgar Poe. In 1815, Allen took 6-year-old Edgar to see his homeland. Poe was briefly schooled in Irving, and it's documented he had a sketching lesson with his class in the cemetery. The design of the 200- and 300-year-old graves were wonderfully macabre. Those generations decorated headstones with carved skulls and bones. Who knows why they wanted to remember not the life of their loved ones, but their demise. My young gothic heart was grateful for it, though. Not a single other set of footsteps disturbed that cemetery while I was there. That terrain that is forever in deep autumn, hidden from a warmthless sun, beneath its roof of static cloud that no wind can ever shift from its dismal guard duty. I was alone with death, and I loved it. I loved the black music of the cawing crows, those creatures whose very colour seems to compel them to haunt graveyards. Poe, of course, first found fame from his poem, The Raven, in which the bird taunts the bereaved narrator with its cry of "Nevermore." Now he's more famous for his short horror stories, The Fall of the House of Usher, The Mask of the Red Death, and, most of all, The Telltale Heart, in which a madman is tormented by the beating of his murder victim's heartbeat. As I walked the paths to the brown crunch of October leaves underfoot, I felt that ache, part delicious, part torturous, familiar to anyone obsessed with art or artist. The need to push deeper, through the veil of the page, the canvas, the screen. I wanted to know Poe so badly it was excruciating. And he had really been there, once. Was his ghost there? If so, surely it would be the ghost of a child Poe. Appropriate, as he seemed as gothic and haunted as a boy as when a man. When the day declined, I played a game on my nerves, trying to give myself a pleasurable scare, imagining I saw ghosts in the thickening shadows. I tried to make myself see. I wanted it so badly. Just as I walked towards the exit, a thorny bush beside the path seemed to move when there was no wind. I glared and, yes, it definitely shifted, a low, child-sized movement. "Edgar," I rasped. More movements. Behind another bush, then behind the branches of a beech tree. Crows took flight there, as if disturbed. I chased, shouting the name again, and then I saw it, just the faintest glint of it. Childish smallness, pale skin, and dark, baleful eyes, disappearing behind a Celtic cross. I found nothing behind the headstone. Nothing when I searched the graveyard. Was it Poe, my first ghost? As night fell, I left the cemetery, tantalized beyond endurance, seething with the frustration of longing. "10 years later, my life was good. Success arrived.
Congratulations on the new Crowefoot book. Richard, everyone loves it. I hope you got the flowers and the champagne.
My existence was all smiles and sunshine, friendship and fun.
On this week's edition of The Culture Show, we talk to author Richard Montgomery at the launch of his latest Edward Crowefoot murder mystery novel. The Crowefoot books have taken the literary world by storm. All of them have topped the New York Times bestseller lists, and this one looks likely to be no exception. Fans are excited.
In the middle of one happy day, one succession of ever happier days, it happened. I felt a twinge in my chest, a tiny chip of ice sharply penetrating my cheerful life. I expected the whole world to jolt, but everyone else just carried on. So I carried on too, until another, more painful twinge. For weeks I fought fear while the twinges tormented. I surrendered and trudged the grim milestones. Doctor's appointment booked, tests, the visit for the news. Prognosis, mediocre. Not necessarily soon, but unlikely to be distant. At home I sobbed into my stack of leaflets, bowed in front of my trio of pill bottles, to be taken once, twice, and 4 times a day, forever and ever, till death us do part. When my tears dried, I determined not to let this news define me. Didn't others who received similar news say it gave life new purpose, that it made every day precious and the flower smelled sweeter? I was invited to a friend's birthday barbecue and accepted. I would have fun. I would do it. I went and was managing it. I laughed and smiled until I felt it on the inside. I felt brave and was proud of my courage. The lawn and veranda were crowded. Steaks sizzled. The flowers really did smell sweet. Until I noticed a child-sized rustling in the rose bushes. My imagination, surely. But my sweat turned cold, and the champagne taste in my mouth turned rancid. Again, small, low rustling behind foliage, the eucalyptus trees behind the flower beds. Between those leaves, the slightest glimpse of pale skin and dark eyes. The same glimpse I had 10 years before. This time, though, I felt no longing for a fuller view. I yearned for it to disappear, but it hadn't come to tantalise. He stepped fully out of the trees and walked towards me. No one else could see him. The child, small, pale, with one hand behind his back, walked across the grass while the party buzzed around him. Our eyes were locked as he approached me. "Edgar," I said. It wasn't a cry from an admirer. It was a plea for mercy. Little Edgar stopped and brought out the hand from behind his back. He was holding something, a fist-sized chunk of flesh, larger than the childish hand that held it. Bulging ruby-red ventricles, dangling aortas and arteries. It dripped crimson blood onto the green lawn. A heart. I didn't have to wonder whose it was. "No!" But the child's pale face was blank. There was nothing cruel or taunting in his face, but his stare was implacable. It had to be done. He squeezed the heart. Pain pierced my chest. I winced. I snivelled. The cheerful party carried on around me. A tear rolled down my cheek, and Edward watched me with his own pitying but tearless eyes. His gaze told me that a life of contentment and happiness was never to be mine, that oblivion would always be too near to enjoy life. "Edgar, please," I begged. He squeezed the heart again, and I clutched at my chest. I fled from the party, away from sunshine and laughter, to hide in shadows and gloom. I must abide here with death as my always companion, and live the same existence of despairing darkness that Poe did. A few times I've tried to step out of the shadows. Sometimes I imagine I have escaped, but he always appears. Just when I think I have escaped and I can laugh and smile again, Edgar steps from a doorway, from behind a corner, or taps upon a window. With a squeeze of that heart, he sends me cowering back to where I stew alone, not in gothic dread, but real terror, that which will not be confined to the page. The little ghost I had once so ached to see, I now wish with all my being would leave me alone, but never shall, nevermore. Well, there you are. That's my story. Did you enjoy it? Perhaps enjoy isn't quite the word. I'll be here every week to tell you other people's ghost stories. I won't mention the ghost child who follows me again. Just be aware that any time I try and leave this house, he follows me and reminds me that there is nowhere else I can be except in the shadows. From your point of view, that is good, because you will always know where to find me. I'll be here whenever you want to listen to another chilling story, here at Crowefoot's Lair. Good night.